Shall we go to the usual place tonight? My roommate suddenly said in our dialect during dinner. My boyfriend naturally replied, "Yeah, wear that nurse outfit. It looks good with black stockings." Then he lovingly put the peeled shrimp into my bowl. But they didn't know that I understood what they were saying, and I knew even better that the usual place they were referring to was a love hotel nearby. But I didn't expose them. I just waited until they left and called the manager, saying, "I accept the offer to go to another province for training." 1. After hanging up the phone, my phone vibrated twice. I picked it up and saw a message from Vance. "The company is working overtime, so you go to sleep first and don't wait for me." Immediately after that, the cute avatar labeled Natalie popped up. "Odette, don't leave the door open for me tonight, I have a date." Followed by a playful emoji. I clenched my phone, stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, and watched the two of them who had just gone downstairs embrace and kiss eagerly, suppressing the nausea rising in my throat. Natalie had told me a while ago that she was in love, and her boyfriend was 8 meters tall and very big, but he was rough in bed and always made her backache. At that time, I was genuinely happy for her and casually said, "Big is better than small," not noticing the mockery and sarcasm hidden in her eyes when she looked at me. Until 2 days ago, I accidentally bumped into their affair. Watching the pair of sworn enemies who would bicker at the sight of each other kiss passionately behind my back, 2 lines of tears rolled down my cheeks. I covered my mouth and stood outside the door, biting my lip until it bled before restraining myself from rushing in. Listening to the sound coming from inside, my eyes were red. It turned out that my gentle and honest boyfriend liked to play so many tricks. Uniform with black stockings. No wonder her back aches. I closed my eyes, and although I tried my best to control myself, my body still couldn't help but tremble. In the eyes of my friends and family, Vance was a 24-karat good boyfriend, and Natalie was not only my college roommate, but also my best friend. No one would believe they were together, but it was me, the unlucky one who was betrayed twice. Seeing that I hadn't replied for a long time, Vance called. I looked at the incoming call, wiped the tears from the corner of my eyes, and then answered the phone as if nothing had happened. "Baby, why don't you reply to the message?" I found an excuse absent-mindedly, clutching my phone tightly, and made a final attempt. "What should I do, husband? Natalie said she's going to see that guy tonight. Should I call her back?" Vance's breathing quickened, not sure if it was because of guilt or because Natalie had shown him some new tricks. "She's an adult. She knows what she's doing. Why do you care so much?" I deliberately dragged the conversation on for a while, and the man's breathing became heavier and heavier. Finally, he couldn't hold on any longer and hurriedly said, "There's something wrong with the company," and hung up the phone. Looking at the hung-up phone, the last bit of affection in my heart was erased. Since they insisted on being scumbags and bitches, then I would let everyone see the faces of these 2 people. Vance came back the next morning, carrying my favorite steamed buns. Vance casually put the breakfast on the table. "I bought it for you. Eat it while it's hot." I didn't say anything, and of course I didn't touch the steamed buns. After a while, the man's voice came from the bedroom. "Baby, where are your clothes?" Vance returned to the living room and saw the suitcase at my feet. His expression froze for a moment, but after a moment he said lightly, "Do you want to go on a trip? Just so happens, I've saved up a lot of vacation time, so I might as well take a long vacation." Natalie came back just then. "Travel? Vance, are you going to take Odette out to play?" "Oh, I envy you too, poor me, a single dog, I can only stay at home." The woman pouted and before I could speak, reached out and took my arm, smiling sweetly. "Or Odette, feel sorry for me and take me with you too?" I looked at the 2 of them going back and forth, and I just found it ridiculous. When Natalie was looking for a job here, she told me she had nowhere to live, so out of kindness, I let her stay at my place. When Vance first heard the news, the look of disgust on his face was unmistakable. For this, I coaxed him for a long time, cooked him delicious food and gave him massages, before I could barely persuade him. But who would have thought that the 2 who would bicker at the sight of each other would have rolled around in bed privately? 2. I'm not going on a trip. The company is sending me to N City for a year of training, so I can get a promotion and raise when I come back," I said casually, pulling my arm away from Natalie. This time, I didn't miss the flash of jealousy in Natalie's eyes. My heart turned cold. I treated her as a good friend and helped her in every way. But she couldn't bear to see me do well. Before Natalie could say anything, Vance got anxious and looked at me disapprovingly, frowning. "Didn't we agree not to go last time? We're almost married. What are you thinking about going away for a year at this time? We've been together for 3 years. Now that our jobs are stable, Vance's parents want to have grandchildren as soon as possible, and they're pressuring us to get married in various ways. My parents are quite satisfied with Vance, but they have only one request, hoping that I won't give up my career for love. Now it seems that their worries are right." I smiled and said, "We're still young anyway. We're not in a hurry to get married. This opportunity is hard to come by. I don't want to give it up. And if I get a promotion and increase my salary when I come back, wouldn't it be better to get married then?" Vance rarely got angry. "Do you think I can't support you?" I didn't speak. Vance's salary, after deducting the car loan and his own living expenses, only has a few $100s left each month. Is he going to support me with these few $100s? I don't know how he said that. Seeing my firm attitude, Vance turned black and slammed the door, saying, "Whatever you want." The door slammed shut. Natalie pretended to be worried and said, "Odette, why don't you think about it again? After all, you two are about to get married, and it's really not appropriate to leave at this time." I stared at her expressionlessly and asked directly, "Natalie, are you on my side or his?" Natalie has always considered herself my best friend, so naturally she wouldn't destroy her image at this time. She softened her tone and leaned over to coax me. "Of course I'm on your side. In my opinion, that Vance is simply not worthy of you. If I had known he was like this, I wouldn't have introduced him to you." "But Odette," the woman changed her tone to a worried one, "it's been a long time for you to go out for a year. Long-distance relationships are the most unreliable. What if Vance?" I looked at her expression and knew that Natalie didn't want me to get a promotion and raise on the one hand. But on the other hand, she wanted to keep Vance. She was in a dilemma. I lowered my eyes, hiding the irony in my eyes. Just leave this kind of man to her. It doesn't matter, don't you have me? I held her hand with a forced smile, full of sincerity. "During this year, you stay here and help me watch Vance, and report to me if anything happens." "But..." Natalie pretended to be hesitant. I smiled and said, "Didn't you like the L brand bag? Just treat it as my payment for you to watch Vance for a year." I have always been generous to Natalie, and I think of her in everything good. It's a pity that I fed a dog with all my heart. Joy burst into Natalie's eyes, but on the surface she was very considerate. "What are we sisters talking about? You can rest assured, I will definitely help you keep an eye on him." I nodded with a smile. Natalie, who was immersed in the excitement of getting a new bag, didn't notice the coldness in my eyes. 3. I've already installed a hidden camera in the house. I don't believe this pair of cheating dogs and bitches can resist the temptation for a year while I'm away. I don't know how Natalie persuaded Vance, but on the day I left, the man was actually willing to come to the airport to see me off, although his face was still unpleasant. I pretended to be sad. "Husband, wait for me to come back. A year will pass quickly," Vance said coldly. "If you have to go, I can't do anything. You figure out how to explain it to my mother." I pursed my lips, but I was laughing inside. It's not certain who will have a hard time explaining. Natalie glared at him and hugged me affectionately to say goodbye. "Odette, you must take good care of yourself when you go there. I will miss you." I nodded. "Yes, I will." Then I lowered my voice and said in her ear, "I've put the bag in your room. Remember to check it out." Natalie's eyes lit up, and she waved goodbye to me reluctantly. I walked into the boarding gate under their gaze. It wasn't until the plane landed that I turned on the surveillance device on my phone. Sure enough, as soon as the two of them got home, they couldn't wait to roll around together. Because of my departure, they became even more blatant, and they tried every place with a support point from the living room to the kitchen. I forced myself to suppress my disgust and saved the video. After simply blurring it, I forwarded it to Vance's family and friends group. 4. Caption: Congratulations to my husband on his new love. Then I sent Vance a breakup text, deleted and blocked him, all in one go. The training here in City is going very smoothly. Without Vance and Natalie, those two giant babies, I don't have to do endless housework anymore. And I don't have to rack my brains thinking about what to cook every day. Life is quite comfortable. Until I went home from work one day and saw Vance and his parents downstairs in my new apartment complex. They were also carrying big and small bags. Vance's face looked ugly. When he saw me, he glared at me angrily, but Vance's mother slapped him on the head. What are you standing there for? Hurry up and apologize to Odette. After she scolded Vance with a stern face, she turned to me with a smile. Odette, we've already taught this kid a lesson. Can you just give him another chance? As she spoke, she stuffed a bunch of things she was holding into my arms. Look, we bought all these. Vance said you like these. I looked at the paper bags with big brand logos, and a sneer crossed my eyes. In the 3 years of our relationship, Vance had never bought me an expensive gift. And not only that, he would criticize me for stocking up on things when there were big discounts on Double 11. Girls are just different. You don't have to support a family. Unlike us men, every penny has to be carefully calculated and spent in half. I didn't want to argue with him, so I didn't say anything. Unexpectedly, seeing that I didn't refute, the man became more and more excited. Odette, it's not that I'm saying you. Look at any other person who is about to get married, and they are as extravagant as you. Do you know how to live? Finally, I couldn't bear it anymore. I didn't spend your money, and besides, I didn't say anything when I saw you spend money on games. Why are you qualified to educate me? Vance's expression froze for a moment. Then he said weakly, I'm just thinking about our future. You think about it. When we get married and have children, we always have to have some savings, right? At that time, although I was unhappy, thinking that he was usually quite considerate of me, I still didn't refute it. But a few days later, I saw Natalie wearing a luxury brand earring. I was a little surprised. Her work hadn't stabilized yet. Where did she have the spare money to buy this? So I casually asked. Natalie's eyes flickered, and she touched her ear and said casually, This? Alec bought it, isn't it beautiful? I looked at the earrings and found them familiar. Later, I saw the same pair in Vance's Taobao shopping records, and when I asked him with my phone, the man said, Isn't my boss's birthday coming up soon? My promotion is still in her hands, so I thought of buying a gift to please her. And since you were busy at the time, I went to ask Natalie. Vance hugged me. When I get promoted, I'll buy one for you too. I quickly waved my hand and said no. A pair of earrings cost nearly 10,000 yuan, which was too extravagant, and I didn't even have pierced ears. Hearing this, Vance hugged me generously and said, When I get promoted, I'll buy you whatever you want. Thinking about it now, what's the difference between this and the big pie drawn by the boss? Oh, there is a difference. At least my boss pays me for how much work I do. But with Vance, I'm working for free and being a free nanny. Now that we've broken up, he's willing to spend a lot of money to coax me. I said coldly, Uncle and Aunt, you've already watched the video. I will never be with a man who has betrayed me. 5. Vance was immediately anxious and glared at me. Do you know that your behavior has violated my privacy, and I can sue you? Before I could speak, Vance's father scolded. We are a family. What are you talking about suing? If you hadn't done such a shameful thing, Odette would have no reason to harm you even if she wanted to. Vance's mother also came over and wanted to hold my hand. Odette, you and Vance have been together for 3 years, and your relationship has always been good. It would be a pity to give up now when you are about to get married. Don't worry, Auntie only recognizes you as my daughter-in-law. As for those shameless mistresses outside, don't even think about stepping into my Vance's house. She assured me confidently. If I hadn't received Natalie's bragging email 2 days ago, I might have really believed it. I pulled my arm away and said indifferently, Auntie, the relationship between Vance and me has come to an end, and it's meaningless to force it. Seeing my firm attitude, Vance's mother gradually changed her expression, and her voice became sharp. Odette, You have been living with my son for a year, and you have been ruined. Do you think anyone else will want a second-hand goods like you after leaving my son?" I laughed angrily. "According to what you said, your son is even dirtier. He has slept with several women, and there may be some dirty diseases on his body." I said coldly, "Get out, or I'll call the police and report you for harassment." Vance's mother was so angry that her face turned red, and she pointed at me with trembling hands. You dare to talk to me like that?" I sneered disdainfully and directly took out my phone, clicked on the photo Natalie sent me. The people in the photo were Natalie and Vance's mother, who were intimately arm in arm, shopping like a pair of mother and daughter. Like mother, like son. Your hypocrisy really disgusts me," I mocked. In the past, for Vance, I humbled myself in front of his parents, and I gave them gifts like running water on every holiday. But what did I get in return? Knowing that Natalie was a mistress, they were still close with her family, and then they could come to me with a thick face and ask for a reunion, which really refreshed my lower limit of cognition. Seeing the photo, Vance's mother couldn't speak. She just stared at me with resentment. Vance works in the physical education department, and he values his reputation the most, so he dragged Vance's mother away dejectedly. I thought that was the end of it, but unexpectedly, halfway through my class the next day, I heard a commotion downstairs, and a bunch of people who went out for lunch were watching the excitement. A colleague came to find me. "Odette, you should go downstairs and have a look. There's an old lady who says she's your mother-in-law, and she's holding up a banner and crying at the door." 6. My brain was buzzing, and I grabbed my phone and ran downstairs. Before I could squeeze into the crowd, I saw a bright red banner with large characters printed on it. "Odette spent all my son's savings, hugged her boss's thigh and abandoned her fiancé." My eyes went dark. Fortunately, a colleague next to me supported me, so I didn't fall. I don't know who shouted, "Odette is here," and the crowd that had been packed watertight instantly made way for me. Looking at Vance's mother, who was kneeling on the ground, crying bitterly with snot and tears, I began to doubt whether I had really done something wrong to Vance. "Odette, my daughter-in-law." Vance's mother's eyes lit up when she saw me, and she quickly got up and ran towards me, then slid to her knees in front of me, kowtowing to me and hugging my legs and wailing, "Odette, just give my son a way to live. You two have been together for 3 years, and the money he has spent on you in these 3 years can buy a house. You can't be so cruel. Just say no and he'll just leave." I didn't expect an old lady's movements to be so fluid and quick, and I didn't even have a chance to dodge. The surrounding discussions kept drilling into my ears. "This girl looks decent, but I didn't expect her character to be so bad. Yeah, he spent so much money on her, and they were going to get married, but she found someone better and turned around and didn't want to get married. You should return the money to him if you don't get married." That's right, gold-digging women are disgusting. Some people were also recording videos with their phones, saying righteously, "People like this should be exposed. Let everyone see her true face." I have lived for more than 20 years, and I have never seen such a scene. Seeing that everyone was on her side, Vance's mother acted even more vigorously. "Odette, actually we don't blame you. It's just that money was my child's father's and my pension, and you spent it all on bags. And we can't even afford medicine, so we had no choice but to come find you." She wiped her tears aggrievedly, and the worn-out clothes she was wearing didn't know where they were dug out from. I suppressed my anger and said, "Get up first." "No, Odette, please forgive my son, no matter what mistakes he made before. But he truly loves you." Hearing this, the onlookers immediately boiled over. "Auntie, why do you want such a woman? Just sue her and ask her to return the money." "That's right, she is a gold digger for the sake of climbing up." I feel disgusted just looking at her. Listening to the insults around me, my brain gradually calmed down. Yes, if what Vance's mother said was true, then she could go to court and sue me to get the money back. Why make a fuss at the company gate? And she made such a fuss. And she definitely wouldn't want me to be her daughter-in-law anymore, but just to disgust me and pour dirty water on me. A clear conscience fears no accusation. Since she wants to make a fuss, then I'll accompany her and see who loses in the end. I quickly pinched the soft flesh of my thigh with my hand hidden in my sleeve, and the pain made my tears flow instantly. 7. Auntie, you don't know. Actually, it's all a misunderstanding. It was Vance. He was the one who initiated the breakup. I said with tears in my eyes. You said he gave me all that money, but I didn't take his money at all. As I spoke, I took out my phone and pulled up my spending records for the 3 years of our relationship. Fortunately, I have the habit of keeping accounts. Otherwise, I would not be able to clear my name even if I jumped into the Yellow River. Look, this is all the expenses we've had together for the 3 years of our relationship. I remember every penny very clearly. Vance only bought me a bouquet of 99 yuan flowers and a 399 yuan gold-plated necklace on Valentine's Day. I said loudly. I bought him a 4090 graphics card. Look, I really didn't spend any other money. Vance's mother looked at the clear and detailed bills. Her throat seemed to be stuffed with a stone, and she couldn't speak. Seeing the onlookers cast suspicious glances at her, Vance's mother panicked and wiped her tears, saying, "If my son didn't spend any money on you, then where did our old couple's money go? That's our life savings." I grabbed her hand and said confidently, "Well, Auntie, I'll call the police and let them investigate where this money went." Vance's mother's eyes widened in fear, and she almost couldn't catch her breath. "No, you can't call the police." I looked at her in confusion, and even patiently persuaded. "Auntie, I know that in your older generation's concept, it's not good to call the police. But as you said, this money is your and Uncle's life savings. It can't just be lost like this. Besides, the amount is not small. The police will investigate it very quickly." As I said that, I pressed 110 and was about to dial the phone, but the old lady quickly got up and grabbed my hand. I pretended not to see her trembling lips and deliberately said, "Auntie, what's wrong with you?" Vance's mother gritted her teeth and said, "Odette, I know you're doing it for my good, but there may be some misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding?" I drawled. "Yes, I'll go back and ask Vance again, and ask him again." I pretended to be difficult. "Then what about this matter today?" Vance's mother hurriedly said, "It's my fault. Everyone, please disperse." As she spoke, she pulled down the unfolded banner and ran away dejectedly. The crowd gradually dispersed, and my colleagues gave me a thumbs up in admiration. I thought this matter would be a big deal, but I didn't expect you to solve it in 2 or 3 sentences. I smiled at her and said nothing. "But did your ex-boyfriend really only buy you these things for 3 years of dating?" I nodded. My colleague wrinkled her brow in disgust. "He's both stingy and poor. And his family is like this too. How did you fall for him?" I thought for a moment. Maybe I thought he was responsible? My colleague widened her eyes in shock when she heard that. I smiled, but recalled the time when Vance and I first met. Natalie went to the bar to play at night, got drunk, and called me to pick her up. And when I carried her out who was drunk, I was harassed by a drunk little yellow hair. In the end, Vance saved us. Later, Natalie said she wanted to introduce a friend to me, and I was originally not interested, but I was a little surprised when I saw it was him. We had a very pleasant chat, and even our interests were very similar. The sudden ringing of the phone interrupted my thoughts. I looked at the caller ID. It was Vance. 8. As soon as I picked up, the man's scolding voice came from the other end of the phone. "Odette, do you know my mom has a heart condition? How could you be so rude to her?" I couldn't help but roll my eyes. "It was your mom who came to my company building to make a scene and spread rumors, okay?" "So what?" Vance said confidently. "My mom is an elder. Should you have this attitude towards an elder?" "Stop," I sneered. "I don't have such an unreasonable elder, and we've already broken up. We're not even remotely related. Don't come and disgust me." I heard Vance's heavy breathing, probably so angry that he hung up directly. I curled my lips, not caring at all. A few days later, after finishing my report, my leader stopped me as I was about to leave. "Odette, you did a good job on this case. Your salary for this month will be doubled. You can go directly to HR to collect it, and there is also a previous bonus." I frowned, feeling that there was something in his words, so I went to HR. And when I saw the resignation letter she handed me, I clenched my fist. Why do you want me to leave? HR looked at me and said strangely, "Don't you know?" My eyebrows furrowed slightly. What should I know? HR took out her phone and handed it to me. This is a video that has recently become very popular online. Take a look. I clicked on it and realized that it was actually a video of Vance's mother kneeling and making a fuss at the entrance of my company. Except that it was cut and pasted. Only the middle part where Vance's mother cried miserably and loudly accused was retained. The netizens in the comment section were all feeling sorry for Vance's mother. Poor old lady. What kind of heartless woman is she, who actually cheated the old lady's pension? There are more and more gold-digging women like this in society now. I curse her whole family to have a bad life. Old lady, don't be sad. Is there any donation channel? I can donate. There were countless comments like this. HR said helplessly, "You see, the company is also under pressure. Because of your incident, the company's official Weibo has been attacked by netizens, and if we don't respond, there will be greater losses." I clenched my fist. Don't worry, give me 3 more days. If the matter is not resolved, I will resign on my own initiative. 9. That night, I gathered all the evidence I had and made a PPT presentation, then registered for a Weibo account. I casually scrolled through it and found Vance and Natalie doing a live stream to play the victim. Natalie, as my college roommate, exposed a series of scandals about me online, such as how I used to bully my classmates in college and didn't like studying. Well, she never flushed the toilet after using it, and I wanted to remind her, but I didn't know how to say it. And to those bullied classmates, I really want to say sorry here. I wanted to save them too, but I was threatened by Odette at that time, so. Woo woo, I'm sorry everyone. Odette cried like a pear blossom with rain, but as soon as the tears were about to fall and ruin her delicate makeup, the woman would quickly pull out a tissue and wipe them away. And yet, many netizens believed her. Sister, don't cry, you are also a victim. It's already very brave of you to be able to point her out now. When will this kind of bully die? By the way, that company doesn't seem to have made any moves yet. What kind of background does this Odette have? I gritted my teeth and went to Vance's side. This guy was using the same routine. On the one hand, he was selling the persona of a deep lover, and on the other hand, he was inconspicuously exposing my black material. Vance looked a bit handsome, and when he looked at the camera deeply, he actually had a bit of the feeling of a Korean drama male lead. Seeing the comments in the live room saying, "Odette really deserves to die. Little brother, don't love her, love me," I was amused. My phone vibrated. It was a call from my parents. They had heard some rumors recently and were very worried about me. I assured them, then contacted a big V blogger who loves to eat melons, and told him directly that I had more explosive material in my hands, which could instantly reverse the situation and guarantee that he would earn a lot of traffic. The blogger quickly agreed and made an appointment for a live broadcast at 7 p.m. the next day. I was ready and just waiting for the show to begin. 10. Sure enough, as a professional blogger, he released a preview during the day, attracting a wave of eyeballs. By the time the live broadcast started that night, the number of online viewers had exceeded 100,000. I pressed the live connection button. After connecting successfully, I calmly said to the camera, "Hello everyone, I am Odette, the person involved in the recent kneeling incident." As soon as I spoke, the barrage was filled with dirty words and all kinds of abuse. I continued, "Now I'm releasing the complete video of the kneeling incident, as well as all the financial bills of my ex-boyfriend Vance during our relationship." 2 files appeared on the screen instantly. The barrage stopped for a moment, then started brushing frantically. Fuck, so the complete video is like this? This family is so weird. The man only spent so little money and still has the nerve to say he loves you? The female lead even bought him a 4090, who will buy me one woo-woo. And just then my phone rang frantically. It was Vance calling. I ignored it. Someone in the barrage said again, "Even if this is fake, what about you bullying your classmates in college? This is what your best friend said personally." I laughed. What best friend? The best friend who slept with my boyfriend while I was away on a business trip? As soon as I said this, everyone was shocked. What? Slept with him? I briefly described how Natalie found a job and lived in my house, and how this pair of dogs hooked up and flirted under my nose. My phone vibrated frantically, all the abusive messages sent by Natalie and Vance. I turned a deaf ear and continued on my own. My ex-boyfriend and my best friend are from the same hometown. They thought I wouldn't understand if they spoke in dialect, but they didn't know that I also learned the dialect to please his parents. I looked at the camera and smiled sarcastically. How about it, Mr. Vance and MS? Natalie, who liked nurse uniforms and black stockings. 11. The events unfolded so quickly, and the truth was so shocking that the internet buzzed about it for a week. Vance's unit fired him for his moral misconduct, and Vance's mother, who used to brag about her son being a civil servant, lost her bragging rights, and was instead pointed and criticized by her relatives and friends because of the online video. In the end, the whole family fled back to their rural hometown, unable to bear the pressure. As for Natalie, I met her again at a bar. I went there with a friend to have a few drinks to relieve stress, but I saw her being plied with drinks by several greasy middle-aged men, with several hands groping her. When Natalie saw me, she instinctively wanted to hide, but she was slapped back by one of them, who cursed at her. You shameless bitch, I pay you to drink and you dare to hide? I looked at Natalie, who was kneeling on the ground like a dog, and shook my head. Before leaving, I met her in the corridor. I didn't want to pay any attention to her, but she called out to me instead. Odette. I turned and looked at her. Is there something wrong? Why can you live so well? She looked at me jealously. You know, I don't like Vance at all. I just wanted to make you unhappy. I nodded expressionlessly. Vance wasn't really Natalie's type, so I was also surprised when they got together at first. The woman looked at me and suddenly smiled. You don't know, actually. That little gangster was deliberately found by Vance to get close to you. After waiting for a long time, seeing that I didn't react, Natalie collapsed. Why aren't you sad? I tilted my head. Why should I be sad? It's just that I found out that a rotten person is actually rotten from the root. What's there to be sad about? I didn't pay any more attention to the crazed Natalie and turned to leave. The road ahead is long, and I have to keep moving forward, step by step.